This video is for The Living Earth, Unit 2.1, Energy for Life. Today's essential question: what is the role of photosynthesis and respiration in the carbon cycle? Our first main idea: the carbon cycle.
The molecules that are needed for the life processes of all organisms, plants, and animals contain carbon as their main structural component. 121 times 10 to the 15th metric tons of carbon are continuously being cycled throughout the Earth's geosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere. Some of this carbon recycling happens relatively quickly. As a carrot grows, it removes carbon dioxide from the air, and through the process of photosynthesis, releases oxygen and uses the carbon atoms to produce a carbohydrate, glucose. Glucose is stored in the carrot's root and converted to starch and other carbon compounds. When a rabbit eats the carrot, digestion transfers carbon compounds from plant to animal. When the rabbit needs energy, it gets it by metabolizing carbon compounds stored in its tissues. When it defecates or dies, the carbon from the carrot is transferred back to the atmosphere in the form of carbon dioxide, or back to the soil, where it's converted by other organisms that release carbon dioxide in the process of respiration. This is part of what's known as a fast carbon cycle.
Our next main idea: photosynthesis and respiration.
Hi, I'm Doug Taylor, and I'm a biologist. The sun provides all the energy for life, but we can't just use that energy. We have to take that energy and store it. Photosynthesis is the process whereby the energy from the sun is captured and turned into chemical energy that's stored.
Photosynthesis, a chemical process in which solar energy is used to convert water and carbon dioxide into organic compounds, especially sugars.
So think of the sugar as a battery. It's taking the sun's energy and it's going to store it and use it later.
Cellular respiration, the process by which the mitochondria of cells break down food molecules to produce ATP.
What respiration is takes that chemical energy, and what it does is release that energy that was stored. It uses the energy in the battery to generate ATP. And ATP is an energy-rich molecule that can be transported around the organism to do various functions. Photosynthesis takes the energy from the sun and it turns it into chemical energy in the form of glucose. So the process of respiration is where those complex chains of sugar molecules, glucose, and other carbohydrates are broken and the chemical energy is released to generate ATP.
The products of photosynthesis are the reactants of respiration. And the products of respiration are the reactants of photosynthesis. Together, these two processes form a complementary cycle.
One analogy is to imagine a skier. They start at the bottom of the slope and they ride to the top on a chairlift. They need energy to get to that state. And then they ski down the hill and use that energy to get to another state. So the process of photosynthesis is using energy to get to a state. Respiration is the process where that stored chemical energy is harvested to generate ATP. Now, the important thing about the skier analogy is that two very different processes are happening. In the one case, you're riding up the chairlift, and in the other case, you're skiing down the hill. You're not riding both directions, you're not skiing both directions. So they're very different processes.
So what have we learned? Plants use photosynthesis to build glucose.
Photosynthesis takes the energy from the sun and takes carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and uses that energy to make complex chemicals, sugars or carbohydrates.
Cell respiration breaks down glucose.
Respiration is the process where that stored chemical energy is harvested to generate ATP.
Photosynthesis only occurs in plants and algae, but cellular respiration occurs in all organisms.
Photosynthesis only occurs in plants and algae, They produce the energy for life, but all organisms consume it with respiration.
At this point, you should be able to generate a full and appropriate response to today's essential question. What is the role of photosynthesis and respiration in the carbon cycle?